Hey, Mark from Sound Matters here, and we've got an interesting topic to cover today. This is all about AI-generated music. There's been a lot of hype around this at the moment, particularly surrounding one band in particular. But my question today is, do we even want this? So I think this is a really interesting and important topic because if you think about it, no matter where you live in the world, no matter what your native tongue is, there's one universal language that we all basically understand, and that's arguably music. You know, there's a really nice quote by the late American poet called Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who apparently once said that music was the universal language of mankind. So without even being able to understand the words being sung, music has the power and capability to move us emotionally. This is part of what separates us from other beings on this planet, because we have the ability to express our creativity, our experiences, and our emotions through music. You know, in other words, music should speak to the human condition. So where do we stand then if AI can just generate an entire piece of music or simply a performance for us? Where do we stand? What's the purpose of music? What does it mean to mankind if that element of it is kind of half taken away from us? Why am I even talking about this? Well, the reason is that just recently a really fascinating project surfaced on YouTube which raises some serious questions about the trajectory of AI, artificial intelligence, in relation to music. So the project in question is called AIsis, which is an Oasis album put together by a whole load of fanatics, a band of fanatics, imagining an alternative reality where they're calling it the lost tapes, if you like. They're imagining an alternative reality where the band's original classic lineup never split and continue to make music in the style of their celebrated 90s albums. The songs are actually original. They're written and performed by a band called Breezer in an Oasis-esque style, but the vocal delivery, the vocal performance that you hear is actually an AI-generated Liam Gallagher voice based on his classic sort of 90s sounding peak of his kind of abilities voice. This raises so many questions about copyright, about the future of music for humanity. Now, if you want to get the context for yourself, I recommend you do check out the project. And by the way, this video is not to knock anything that the guys over at Breezer have achieved with this AIsis project. Undoubtedly, a lot of work has gone into it, and it's very curious to listen to indeed. It's very interesting, it's very fascinating. It's obviously generating a lot of attention, particularly as there's a lot of, circulating rumours about a potential Oasis reunion at the moment. There's a lot of hype around that, and that's, I think, potentially led in part to people being moved to create a project like this, right? But we're very much at the beginnings of the AI process here. We're very much at the dawn of what the capabilities of AI is. And of course, naturally, at the moment, artificial intelligence is only really as good as the information it is fed by human beings. But if you consider how far technology has gone in the last 30 years or so, where are we heading with this? Where is it going to lead to? What are the implications for us as human beings? Do we even want this? Is it inevitable? This isn't an isolated incident just involving the band Oasis either. Just recently, another example was a fake collaboration that surfaced supposedly between the artist Drake and The Weeknd called Heart on My Sleeve, which was pulled from YouTube, Spotify, and all the various usual suspects by Universal Music after they complained. It really does raise so many questions about copyright issues and where we're heading here. And, of course, naturally, this collaboration never actually happened. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm getting serious flashbacks and deja vu back to the music industry's original clash with technology over things like the rise of Napster and the rise of digital downloads. This was a technological shift from which the music industry has, let's face it, never really fully recovered. I think the potential of AI to turn the whole industry on its head is arguably even more significant than the rise of digital downloaded music and the decline of music ownership. If anybody out there can just easily generate a performance or a fake collaboration of artists without their involvement whatsoever, things legally are about to get pretty murky pretty quick. So all credit to the guys behind the AIsis project. Undoubtedly, a lot of work's gone into it, making sure it sounds like Oasis, and a lot of human input has gone into ensuring that the AI-generated version of Liam's voice sounds realistic and convincing. For me, though, it does represent the next stage in dehumanizing music, which has been going on now, I would say, arguably, for many decades, going all the way back to the early days of tape recording, the ability to splice and cut tape and, correct performances to a certain degree, marching forward steadily to the full digital recording, manipulation and processes that we know today, whereby every note and every beat can be manipulated both from a timing and a pitch perspective. Now, most of you out there will have a pretty good understanding, it's very well documented, what things like auto-tune can do to a vocal performance, but what is probably less understood by the recording studio layman is the whole concept of quantization, which essentially just means that if a performance is recorded to a click track, then every single note and every single beat can be conformed to a kind of grid. In very, very minor circumstances, people will use that to correct mistakes. In very extreme circumstances, almost all the human error and feel can be removed almost entirely. Now, I'm not suggesting that every single modern recording takes this process to its extreme capabilities, but undoubtedly technology has shifted our expectations of perfection, and it's changed our tolerance for the level of human error that we will tolerate within a recording. Perhaps, simply because correcting these small mistakes now, these human errors, is just so easy. I think a very good example to show you on this is a program like Melodyne, which combines pitch and timing correction into one handy space. And it allows producers and engineers to, essentially manipulate recordings on a very granular level. You can easily edit pitch, time, note by note, and rewrite entire melodies, or even create layered harmonies. So critics of this over-editing in the studio, including myself actually, would argue that this has completely stripped the human performance and the human element out of music, resulting in productions that are cold and clinical and fail to connect with listeners in quite the same way as older, more organic productions might have done. So it begs the question, what happens if we remove the human from the equation entirely? Sure, AI needs human input now, but I can envisage a time whereby artificial intelligence could generate entire albums from start to finish without any human involvement practically whatsoever. And if this does come to fruition, let's say this actually happens, then arguably the transformation of music as something for human beings to relay and communicate emotions, experiences and creativity to something that is basically just a mere commodity, that transformation, that whole thing that's been, I guess, slowly going on in the background already, that whole process, that whole transformation will be complete. Now, I think we stand to lose quite a lot here, quite a lot indeed. And of course, AI generated music is just the tip of the iceberg. There's conversations out there about pretty much AI generated anything from entire articles to code to artwork outputs, you name it, it's out there. And what I think we stand to lose is the meaning of what it means to be human. Entirely, the meaning of life essentially is at stake here. If our creative and productive output is just entirely replaced by machines, then that leaves us without purpose, and without purpose, our emotional and physical health may suffer greatly. Is all this just inevitable? Do we just need to accept this fate, whether we like it or not? Well, as Isaac Newton concluded, for every action there is an equal opposite reaction. And I firmly believe that this is a lot of the power behind what's driven the resurgence in interest in vinyl records. As music consumption got increasingly clinical and less rewarding from a kind of collective ownership kind of perspective, I think people have sought to regain some element of authenticity and connection with their music that digital only platforms simply just cannot deliver in the same way. Will the rise of AI generated music produce a similar counter movement? Well, that, my friends, is in the lap of the gods. So if you made it this far into the video, thank you ever so much for watching. What are your thoughts on this topic? Let me know down in the comments below. I always love to hear your views on these topics. This is a very, current thing that's going on, that's moving quite fast paced. I'd love to know what you think about where it's all going down in that comment section. I'd also like to take just a moment to thank the sponsors of this channel, who are Groove Washer, who make my favorite record cleaning fluid, and of course 12-inch, who make the vinyl display systems that I use to display records behind me in each and every video. Discounts for both of those products, both of those brands, are in the description below. And also, if you're new to this channel, please do consider joining us. I'd love to have you on board, but until then, keep spinning.